Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and after a few days of speculation, we finally have word from OpTic themselves that iLLeY will, it seems, be returning to practice today and for the next few days as well ahead of the Major 4 qualifiers. Hopefully the pain does not return and everything works out okay, but the next few days of practice will be very crucial indeed as to whether OpTic can return to their starting team that they had at the beginning of this season. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel, thanks very much indeed for doing that. We're on the verge of 79k now, love to see it. Now, well, plenty to dive into today, because not just the OpTic stuff, but we also kind of have some interesting roster speculation. We'll dive into some more Rostermania stuff later on today, but Team War say COD roster change. Harry, formerly, well, briefly in London, he's back in the, well, he's in the Team War team, and Ricky Atura, formerly coach of the Florida Mutineers, you guys might remember last season, is also joining the team. Now, he also goes on to say that he almost had an opportunity elsewhere. So as he describes here, passion pit route back to the league, don't mind if I do, excited to finish out the Challenger season helping these gents out, looking for an opportunity to coach back in the CDL next season following Japs. Until then, Team War. So cool stuff for Ricky Atura. Glad he's getting a position here, because I was honestly surprised. I thought that a lot of people said in the league last season on Florida he did a rather good job, and then he effectively got ousted from the team. People were kind of confused as to why. He's now got a spot back here, but he goes on to describe that actually he almost had an opportunity elsewhere. Apparently, well, Kroner's going to give some details here in a second to do with what might have been happening with the Paris Legion. So as Atura says, unfortunately, I plan to be under a newly formed organisation that wasn't able to get the position they desired in the CDL for next year and have backed out for the time being. Nonetheless, more than excited to finish out the season with these handsome guys. So this is rather interesting, right? He was almost going to join another organisation that was trying to get into the CDL for, of course, I suppose, next year, and backed out for the time being. So we don't know if there's expansion coming next season, but this kind of doesn't necessarily imply that there will be, because if there is an organisation like this looking to get involved and expansion is there, then you'd imagine they will just get in anyway. But apparently they were planning to buy out the Paris Legion spot. This is something I think I heard about quite a while ago that at least was in discussions, that Gataga, you guys might know Gataga, legit, well, back in the day, a French Call of Duty player at a pretty decent level, then nowadays like an absolutely just immense personality, streamer, entertainer in the French scene. Like, well, anyway, he and maybe his team around him or whatever wants to get involved in the Call of Duty League. From what I understand, as Crone says, there was a group attempting to purchase the Paris Legion since last year, which involved French streamer and retired Call of Duty player Gataga. That's what Atura is talking about. So very interesting stuff. We know that Paris now are relocating to Las Vegas next season. Now, whether they're doing that with the intention of selling their franchise onto another ownership group that wants Las Vegas more than Paris, and of course Gataga, being a French player, would of course like to keep that organisation in Paris or whatever they wanted to do. So maybe Gataga was trying to get involved, or whatever the group around him is, and purchase Paris Legion for this upcoming season or last year or whenever this has been in discussions for. But yeah, apparently that's kind of fallen through. Paris are going to go down a different route, and Gataga and that are going to kind of bide their time. But that is the thing. I'm sure Gataga, if he does want to get involved, assuming he does, I think that would be fantastic for Call of Duty in general. Like, he's probably thinking, okay, look, well, if you want to move to Las Vegas, guys, then the Paris spot theoretically could be open for me when expansion comes through. Because I'm sure the CDL, at least in theory, wants to kind of keep a secondary European-based franchise, right? They've got London, they had Paris, like that's 2 out of 12. You'd think if Paris is moving to Las Vegas, only 1 out of 12 seems a bit strange to just how outside of that kind of the US and Canada, right? So you'd imagine that Paris as a spot could still be open if Gataga and his boys come through, if expansion comes at some point or another. So thought that was a kind of interesting storyline. Of course, yeah, Gataga wouldn't have actually moved the team to Las Vegas if he'd have got hold of it, right? And apparently, according to Ronnie at Screamintel, they plan to make Hydra the star player alongside 3 other French players if possible, right? So that's rather interesting, because of course, theoretically, Hydra's contract is up, right? They could have, let's say they were coming in for next season and they were staying in Paris, they may be rebranding it from the Legion or something, whatever they wanted to do. They could have said, look, Hydra, come here, we'll pick up 3 French players, we'll make make a superstar French team, because hopefully the Spanish guys or whatever who wants to come in on that front can also do a similar thing, hopefully, if a Madrid team ever arrives. So thought that was a rather interesting possibility that maybe we'll see how that develops over future seasons as well. But good to see people like Gataga trying to get involved, because then discuss it, Gataga, Nadeshot, that really made this scene go round back in the day, especially in many different regions as well. Let's talk subliners real quick, because there was some hints yesterday they might be trying to make a roster change. This, of course, their current team of 4. Crimsix had a pretty difficult time, of course, back at Major 3, but there was some questions as to whether this team would would try and make a move. Look, they won the Prime Classic. I feel like they still believe that they can be a team that's in contention. Like, look, if they go 4-1, 5-0, that's going to be tough. But if they win 4 of their qualification matches, or even 3 of them, maybe, depending on how other things go, they can still have a chance to make it at the, of course, at Major 4. Like, if they win a few of their qualification matches, put themselves on a decent points tally, like if they get to 100 or 110 points after the qualification games, then they can theoretically go into the Major, win the entire thing, and still qualify. It's tough to predict, but like, look, so far this season, things have been very tough to predict indeed. So I was wondering whether they would actually decide to make a move. They tweeted this out yesterday, 30 minutes at Scrappy, implying that something was happening. Like, look, when you look at this, you're thinking, okay, they're surely not just going to be leaking Scrappy's joining with a tweet like this, because if they're going to leak that they signed Scrappy from Toronto, they're probably not going to do it in this manner, right? But it would have been interesting if Scrappy had to come in for, you know, Crimsix hadn't tweeted up till last night for about 10 days. I was wondering whether there was a possibility that even Crim was getting dropped from this team. PaulX tweeted this out as well, and people initially kind of interpreted this maybe as, okay, maybe he's been dropped, maybe it's like, okay, what are these plonkers doing, dropping me for Scrappy or whatever. But it turns out, I guess he was just laughing at the fact that people would get baited by this tweet, and it turns out they effectively just did some sort of YouTube content, which I think was pretty good with Scrappy and the New York guy. So, like, this is of course going alongside Toronto. So we'll see what happens with Scrappy next year, whether he gets a spot on the Ultra, which seems unlikely based on the way they're trending, but also it moves to another organization. Like, I'm sure other organizations want to get this guy off the bench, because of course he's been great so far this season, but who knows, right? When you're good for one title, who knows how good you're going to be in the next title. Still think he's got potential, but I would have liked to see a franchise take a chance on him for the remainder of this season for Stage 4 in the World Championship, but we'll look later today at some other teams that might be considering doing exactly that, depending on how things go. And PaulX is like, you know, with all due respect, screw everyone else, and even Crimsix replies, this is the way. So he's kind of saying that, like, look, he's back, maybe the team is staying together, pretty sure New York are going to stick together. Like, they did win an event together not that long ago. I'm sure they feel like they can still hit that potential, but other teams certainly switching up. We'll see here later on today. Another team switching it up technically is OpTic Return, right? iLLeY's coming back into the starting team. We have wondered with all this talk about the procedure that iLLeY had a couple of days ago that Zuma reckoned was effectively getting the assist to drains, like, and he reckoned that actually, like, it might be recurring. It depends how it goes, right? I don't really know, like, all that much about the technicalities of this type of stuff. I'm sure some of you guys do. I could maybe give better insight in the comment section below, but I believe, like, after he gets the assist drained, it may or may not come back. If it does, he'll have to get it drained again at some point, or just get it straight up removed, whatever's causing it initially, but it could be okay after this procedure that supposedly he's had done over the last few days. Apparently, he's talked to the doctor, and the doctor has effectively said, okay, look, you're good to go. Let's giving him a week after his procedure, and then saying, okay, look, let's give it a go. Let's get back into practice and see if it's okay, right? Because, of course, I'm pretty sure this discomfort first appeared around about Major 2, certainly was going into the kickoff, well, to the Prime Classic, and since then he's had to step away due to this kind of recurring pain and issue, right? So after this procedure, apparently it should be all good to go again. Remember, reckons he's going to be back on the sticks again, and seemingly in practice as well.
Need some iLLeY intel. Alright, chat. iLLeY is scheduled to start playing again on Wednesday. Doc told him a week last time after he got his procedure.
What, the actual... Yeah, it's not the best system.
Tomorrow is when he's supposed to try on the sticks again.
So Remo didn't necessarily specifically say that he's going to be scrimming with the team, but I imagine that is what's going on, because OpTic tweet this out as well, like effectively implying that iLLeY's back in business, right? So yeah, hopefully the procedure went okay. Seems to have done. The doctor said, okay, have a week off after the procedure, like whatever it was, draining the cyst, whatever, and then you should be good to go again. Pick up the sticks. Hopefully the pain, it doesn't return. There might be some sort of pain there based on the procedure, but hopefully it doesn't, because what he was talking about before was he'd kind of pick up the controller and play for an hour or so, it'd be okay, and then after like an hour and a half, 2 hours, like the pain would start to appear there. So hopefully that's not the case anymore. So seemingly though, OpTic have taken a few days off practice. That is kind of a bit of a concern for them, I suppose, because I guess they kind of knew that iLLeY was coming back in a few days' time. They thought, okay, what's the point practicing with Prelude? To make sense, right, if iLLeY's going to return. But it does mean they've lost a few days compared to some other teams. A lot of teams took kind of a few days off after the major, which makes sense, but now we're halfway through the second week after the major, and a lot of teams since last weekends are back into practice, right, getting the reps in, especially a lot of teams are practicing with their new squads, right? We'll look at that later today. But OpTic have kind of been sitting there, they've been streaming earlier in the day, because I'm pretty sure they haven't been doing practice as they normally would, but I'm guessing from today, that's when iLLeY's going to be back in business. So hopefully it works out for him, right, because that is the concern, that if he comes into practice today, plays for a couple of hours, and still there's a bit of discomfort there, then well, they might know that at that point, okay, what are they going to do for the rest of the season? Give him some more time off? Does that mean they have to then bring Prelude back and start practicing again? It's yeah, I think a lot rests on how this practice goes later today. So hopefully we get some good information tomorrow or tonight on how that is trending. ending, but certainly wishing the best, and hopefully it all works out fully, because yeah, we want to see all these teams at full force effectively going into, well, especially Major 4, but also the World Championships, right? We want to see the teams at their kind of premium peak potential, and I think if iLLeY's back, then they can, well, get to that form again, and certainly the team believes that will be the factor right here. Not sure how Shotty didn't get this one, but like, this guy's just on another planet, to be honest. No, anyway, let's talk about this real quick, because we have been kind of roasting a little bit the Enable tier list the last few days. I think he got hit by his cat or something, which is kind of unfortunate right here on his face. Might get a nice scar from this one. But anyway, this is his SMG tier list after stage 3. This, honestly, there's a few of these that make sense. A few of these, like, I kind of like his S and A tier to a degree. I think here, like, Hydra, like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting because Hydra's playing, at least statistically, like an A tier SMG player, but in terms of, like, maybe results, he's not quite there. But I think I would maybe just about justify this. I feel like, you know, Pred and Mac being up here is also justified. Maybe it's a little bit of recency bias, but I feel like Pred in this category, based on the way he's performed throughout the entirety of stage 3 already and the major, is certainly commendable. Now, of course, when we get down to the B tier, I feel like there's kind of some questionable things here. I don't really think Vivid belongs down here in the D tier. Like, from my perspective, if Jimbo's up in the C tier, and Jimbo's been okay, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Vivid's a better player than Jimbo. Like, I feel like this is maybe a little bit off, to be honest. Then we've got Kenny down here in the C tier, but Kenny above Bance. I feel like Bance has got to be higher than this. He deserves more credit, I think, for what he's doing for the team lately. We look at the B tier, like, aBeZy, I think, is too low, to be honest. I know people are saying that, okay, yeah, well, you can't really justify aBeZy higher. I certainly think you can. The way he played during, like, I think he's certainly in the top 10, top 8 range in terms of SMGs. I'd put him, you know, at the very top of the B tier, probably, or like the bottom of the A tier right now. I certainly think he's been more impactful and is playing better, certainly at stage 3, than he's getting credit for right here. So he's definitely probably at the bottom of the A tier for my money, but the rest of the B tier isn't so bad. But intrigued to your thoughts on this in the comment section below, to be honest. Like, obviously very hard to rank all the SMGs. It's much easier said than done. There's a few things I would kind of tweak around here, but most of the things are probably about in the right ballpark. There's also some more quality content here from the CDL. If you guys want to play along with this, feel free to do so. Like, I'll kind of leave it on screen as much as possible. Effectively 5 differences between the two images. Whenever the CDL tweet this stuff out, I'm just thinking, okay, look, why is the breaks so long? And I know that, you know, it's only really a 2-week break. We only have 1 more week after today until the matches start again. But realistically, you would think the matches should, well, maybe not. It's tough to say, because if the matches started, like, well, in a couple of days' time, then probably the teams wouldn't have as much time to do kind of the roster changes that they're going to do. I do wonder if, like, they might bring back at some point, like they used to have in the CWL days, the effectively they had roster change periods. You'd have a roster period of like a week or 2 weeks where the teams could make moves, and after that they was effectively locked after that, right? So that's what I'm thinking, because teams are making roster changes right now, which is good that there's kind of this extra break, so they have more time to trial and test things out. If the game started this Friday, I think it'd be a bit sketchy for some of these teams to actually decide to make moves. But then again, like if there was a set roster change period, then we would guarantee moves in those periods, and therefore, like, you know, we have set downtimes for deliberate reasons, I suppose, rather than the CDL kind of doing content like this to try and keep things ticking over. But the 5 differences are actually, there's this light up here in the top right that isn't here on the bottom. In the bottom left hand side it says victory, and here there's not the I. The CDL logo is upside down here on the Toronto Ultra thing. We've got Miles with a different color shirt. He's got purple here and blue here. And then this was the final one, which is really difficult to spot. The Mountain Dew kind of logo here on the can is a D here, and there's an R at the bottom. It's kind of small for you guys to check out, but you guys know what I'm talking about. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button. Tell us YouTube gods, this is a good video, and I was like, you should see it as well. And I grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.